If your car cranks a long time before it starts, loses power, or just dies out of nowhere, there's one thing that can cause all that, and that's a fuel pump. Today I'm going to show you 5 signs your fuel pump may be failing before it's too late. Thank you for watching Dan's Messy Garage. The first sign is the engine cranks a long time before it starts. If you have a carburetor, take off the air cleaner and then look down the carburetor and work the throttle. You should see fuel squirting out of the accelerator pump nozzles. If you check yours and you see a real weak squirt or intermittent squirt, that's telling you that there's probably not a lot of gas in the carburetor. That could be because your fuel pump just doesn't have enough volume to pump enough gas to make the car run properly. Another thing that would cause that is the fuel pumps have like an anti-drain back valve or a one-way valve that lets the fuel pump fuel up, but it's supposed to stop it from just draining down and going back into the gas tank. A weak fuel pump will just let the gas run back out of the gas line. If you got a car with a carburetor, let's say it's summer, hot out, humid out, just drove it for half an hour, parked somewhere, went in the store, came out 10 minutes later, doesn't want to start, or it cranks a long time and then starts. Could be just the gas got boiled out of the carburetor from the high heat under the hood. It's a while for the fuel pump to suck the gas up again and pump it up into the carburetor. How would I diagnose that? I'd get the car running and then look and see if it's got a fuel filter. Like this car has a fuel filter right here. Let's start the engine. Let's watch the fuel level. See what that does inside that filter. If you notice, the fuel level came up and kind of maintained a level consistent with the input and output of that filter. And there's a bunch of trapped air on the top. That's completely normal because this fuel filter's on a horizontal plane, so air is going to be at the top. The only time you're not going to have air in a filter is when the filter is mounted vertically. The weak fuel pump, you would see spurts going in there, but the level doesn't really fill up like it did in this case. The number 2 sign fuel pump is failing is loss of power under load. That's when you step on the gas, going up a hill, kind of falls on its face. It's probably more noticeable when you just hammer on it and you get going, the car bogs out. It's running out of gas. What to check that? Let's say you're back to the hill. You're climbing up the hill and you step on it and it falls on its face. If you back off the throttle and the car continues to run, then it's getting enough fuel to maintain that speed, but it's not getting enough fuel to satisfy your whole demand when you really do step into it. The number 3 sign would be sputtering or surging. The car doesn't want to maintain a constant speed. It'll kind of surge and go and let off and surge and go. And that doesn't automatically mean the fuel pump is weak. That just means that it's not getting enough gas to maintain that speed. The gas is kind of sputtering in there. That could also be a plugged fuel filter. Now, a lot of cars, that fuel filter is not see-through. It's a metal can, and you're not going to be able to tell if it's gummed up or dirty. In this case, you would see a bunch of grit and crud inside the filter. The other thing it could be is there's a fuel pickup on the line inside the gas tank. If clogged or partially clogged, then it's not going to get enough fuel through the system. That was all about carbureted cars. Now, if you had an electric fuel pump or a car with a computer and electric fuel pump controlled by a relay, there's usually a pressure port in the fuel injector rails that you could put a gauge on and measure the actual fuel pressure that the pump is supplying. You can go to your local auto parts big chain like O'Reilly, AutoZone, or Advance, and they have a free loaner tool program where they'll sell you the tool, you go home and use it, and if you want, you can take it back to the store and get your money back, or keep the tool. But they have fuel pressure testers. You can do that on electronic car. The number 4 sign your fuel pump is failing is kind of like all the above, but momentarily. Sometimes everything's fine. Other times it's not. You'll have surging, you'll have bogging, you'll have the issues that I talked about. Then the next day or later that day, everything's fine. Then I would be checking fuel pressure on a carburetor. Get one of those fuel pressure testers. Check how many PSI you have coming out of your pump. It could just be weak. And sometimes it's supplying enough gas to run properly, and other times it's just not. The number 5 sign your fuel pump is failing is it's leaking. The gas line that runs up to the fuel pump, if it's rubber, that could be cracked, dried out, and just sucking air right there. So you'd have to check the gas line on the gas tank side of the fuel pump also. A weak fuel pump could just simply fail and stop working. You were just driving it and it was running, and then now there is like nothing. It just died. There could be debris floating around inside your gas tank, and right then it just kind of clogged up the filter and shut off all fuel flow to the fuel pump. What I'm getting at is when you first realize that there's something not right, diagnose it then. Don't wait till you get stranded and have to call a tow truck. Check for fuel flow, fuel pressure. See if the filter's clogged. And if the car just stops and stalls and quits running and you're not sure it's a fuel pump, it could be something else, I have another video, step-by-step diagnosis of why a car will crank but not run. So watch that. Before I end this video, if you go to dansmessygarage.com, I have new t-shirt designs with car sayings on them. Check that out. I thank you for watching Dan's Messy Garage. Stay tuned to my channel for tools, tips, tricks, videos, and projects. Bye.